Hello, my name is Ed Barrett-Lennard and I'm a Professorial Fellow at Murdoch University. I want to talk about ACIAR's past work on salinity in Pakistan and how that's formed a foundation for our new focus on investigating adaptation options for salinity. ACIAR supported two streams of activity in the area of salinity research from the mid-1980s to the mid-1990s with many research partners across Pakistan. The first of these streams was in the use of salt bushes as fodders for saline land. Here the research focused on the adaptation of saltbush species to salt land around Pakistan, the development of better clones of saltbush, and the value of saltbush plants as a fodder for goats. The second stream of activity focused on trees for saline land. Here the research was on the identification of suitable tree genotypes for salt land and the value of trees in lowering water tables. The expected legacy of the saltbush stream of activity was that saltbushes would end up being widely used as foragers on farms affected by salinity. This was certainly not achieved. The expected legacy for the trees stream of activity was that trees would be incorporated into farms affected by salinity. This was not achieved. And so it's useful to ask ourselves what were the reasons for failure. For saltbush, the problem is that saltbush is not a complete fodder in itself. Saltbush has low metabolizable energy concentrations and high concentrations of salt in the fodder, and these two factors are problems for ruminants. But it has high protein concentrations in the fodder, which is an advantage. And so for saltbush to be used, it needs to be fed in mixtures of about 1 mouthful of saltbush to 3 mouthfuls of other good quality fodder. But there has been a way forward on the question of metabolizable energy. Over the last decade, Dr. Hayley Norman from CSIRO in Australia has developed high metabolizable energy saltbush clones. One of these has now been introduced into Pakistan, seen here at the University of Agriculture at Faisalabad, and this has been introduced now at Multan. In terms of trees may not fit well into farms. Let me offer you 3 major reasons. Firstly, rows of trees are not drains, and they do steal water and nutrients from adjacent crops. This is a problem. Trees accumulate salt in their root zone. The salt doesn't go away. This is a problem. And fundamentally, I think farmers are not foresters. They're interested in crops in the short term rather than wood in the long term. Let's think about another reason for failure, and I think this is really one of the foundational thinking of these projects. In 1986, I think that the relationship between researchers and farmers was exemplified along the lines of, we want to do something for you. And in fact, we didn't even have specific farmers in mind. By 1996, we were working with real farmers, and perhaps the attitude had evolved to, we want to do something with you. But notice here that the researchers owned the agenda. I think with our project today, we're looking at a fundamental partnership between researchers and farmers. And the thinking behind this partnership is, let's learn from each other and do something together. Now everyone owns the agenda, and together we may achieve whatever the outcome is going to be. One lasting legacy from the historical work in Pakistan on salinity was the development of this book, Saline Agriculture for Irrigated Land in Pakistan, a handbook. This was written in partnership with Professor Riaz Qureshi. It contains this wonderful photograph at the front of the book and this quotation, "Saline agriculture is a rich collection of possibilities." Absolutely true. So I think our aspiration today is that we develop a biophysical understanding of the principles of saline agriculture. We overlay those with the management and social factors and all of this leads to prosperity. We want to build an information database that leads to a more integrated understanding of adaptation options. Thank you. I now want to hand over to Sandra and Iftikhar.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning and good afternoon. Today I want to talk about the rural research engagement and learning model which has emerged from the film model developed in the Farmer Learning Project. From research, we know that the background to this is that the tools and technologies exist in Pakistan, but that farmers' skills and knowledge need to be improved for sustainable practice. We also know that a gap exists between researchers and farmers, and that the problems associated with irrigation, water management and salinity are wicked problems which require multiple stakeholder ideas for solutions. Realm encourages the engagement of a whole community, all of the stakeholders, men, women and youth of both genders. Some of the possible stakeholders include agricultural, horticultural, livestock scientists, farmers, agricultural engineers, departments of irrigation and agriculture and various others. The model is based on sound theoretical underpinnings, principles of adult learning, organic research for community development and assets-based community development, and the references are at the end of the presentation. The model is one of co-inquiry to enable change. It's a participatory action research cycle based on valuing, respecting, trusting and sustaining. In phase 1, the capacities, assets and knowledge of all the stakeholders, both local and national and international researchers, are considered, as well as the institutions with which they are associated. In phase 2, the workshop phase, all of this information is taken in, and in a divergent phase, it's shared with everyone in the workshop to open up and explore the problem. Between the 2 sessions of the workshop, there's a reflection phase. What else should I be thinking about? In session 2 of the workshop, it's a refining of issues. A SWOT analysis examines which are the best possible options, which are most viable, and then action plans and evaluation plans are developed around that. It then moves into the action phase where farmers and facilitators using discovery learning make changes to their practice. And while they're doing that, they're examining and reflecting and evaluating what is happening. And then all of that feedback goes back into the pre-workshop phase again, and the cycle repeats. So Realm engages whole communities, it exposes wicked problems, it bridges researcher farmer gaps, it enhances farmers' knowledge, attitudes and behaviours, it supports farmers in farmer-to-farmer learning, and it enables change. Thank you, and there are the references which I referred to earlier.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Iftikhar Hussain from SOFT. The role of SOFT in this project is to engage and facilitate the communities and stakeholders for research co-inquiry. Origin of SOFT is rooted in farmer field school approach, which was institutionalized in Pakistan in 2000 by establishing National IPM program. Under this program, FFS was employed at large scale with focus on cotton IPM. Beside men, special initiatives were taken to engage women and children by establishing women open schools and children ecological clubs. FFS was also tested on livestock and other crops. The FFS facilitator planned to form a professional body in a conference in 2004, which led to conceive SOFT, and it was registered in 2009 with 34 founders. Till 2017, SOFT has accomplished 23 projects and assignments mainly related to FFS. Under the ACIAR irrigation project, initially 3 learning models were trialed. Successful elements of these models were merged into a new approach named as Farmer Integrated Learning Model. SOFT organized 16 film workshops in which farmers of 32 villages participated and conducted 260 farm-based experiments. Based on this experience, ACIAR trusted SOFT to involve in Salinity project. Under this project, the film is modified and renamed as Rural Research, Engagement and Learning Model. The model guidelines are developed with Urdu translations. Current SOFT team is comprised of 6 persons, including myself. Habib, Fauzia and Umair are placed at Jamshoro, while Ikra and Faisal are at Multan. So far, SOFT has accomplished farmer surveys, profiling and community forums. The Malwa site represents salinity affected landscape where 32 farmers are registered. The community rely on crops and livestock, dominantly the ruminants, small ruminants. The Thata site represents a coastal community largely dependent on fisheries and aquaculture. Here 29 farmers are registered. The Jalalpur site is a mix of agriculture and horticulture where 21 farmers are registered who derive their livelihood from agriculture, livestock and farm labor. The Multan SOFT team has organized its first workshop. The male farmers proposed more than 7 studies, including bed and ridge sowing of wheat and vegetables, laser leveling and deep plowing, application of gypsum, testing canola cultivation, high-density acacia plantation, and formation of a community organization. Whereas the female farmers decided to grow kitchen gardens, vegetable nurseries, household poultry, trainings on value addition and processing of agriculture and dairy produce.